Good evening, everyone. It's 7:01, so I'm going to call this meeting to order on March 7th. Welcome to the Beacon City School District School Board meeting, regular meeting. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, and please also stand for a moment of silence for Mary G. Bagley, who served as first as a third grade teacher and then as a core mathematics teacher to fifth and sixth graders, and Patricia Longenberger, who taught at Sargent School. Thank you. Roll call, Kelly?
Ms. Betterfit?
Delayed.
Ms. Flynn?
Delayed.
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Ms. Johnson?
Delayed.
Mr. Singh?
Here.
Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Ms. Stadler?
Here.
Ms. Stewart?
Here, thank you. Matt, do you want to review the fire exits, please?
Yes, exits are in the back of the LGI.
Thank you. Open to the public. I don't see anyone here in the public to make a public comment. Is there anyone online that would like to make a public comment?
Not me, sorry.
I don't think so, looking at the list. So let's move on to our workshops. We have 3 workshops tonight. The first is meeting our valedictorian and salutatorian, which I guess we're going to do via Zoom. Is that right? I see Sanderson and Bubnick, which I think are the names of the.
No, it's not on mine. I'm just checking on,
Vanessa.
just give me one sec.
Sure, no problem. Hey, Alyssa, how are you? This is going to be the night of technical difficulties. It's the rain.
Yeah, just. Um, I'm not sure. All right, sorry about that. I think we had a little communication mix-up, but I am very excited to announce our valedictorian and salutatorian tonight. And I think they are on Zoom from just me eyeballing the names up there. So again, very excited to announce our valedictorian this year is Madeline Page Bobnick. Congratulations to Madeline.
Melinda.
And our salutatorian is Emma Jones Sanderson. Congratulations to Emma. It's an incredible achievement, and we are just thrilled to share this news tonight with the community, and we're very excited for graduation, to hear your speeches, no pressure, and but just a huge congratulations and a tip of the cap to all the hard work that went into this honor. So thank you, and I see him on Zoom, so I'm waving to the screen. I'm acting weird tonight, but anyway, congratulations to the both of you.
They're welcome to say a few words if they want to.
Do they want to speak?
Good evening. This is
So Lawrence Popnik, I just wanted to say thank you to the Beacon Central School District and all the teachers that have so graciously accepted Madeline into the Beacon High School and guided her along the way. She is truly thankful for her experience at Beacon and all the wonderful teachers and educators that have helped her. So thank you. Unfortunately, Madeline couldn't be here tonight. She is with the Beacon High School soccer team, helping young aspiring athletes with Coach Alzate this evening, so she was unable to attend in person. But we have recorded it for her, so she will definitely hear it. So thank you again.
Thank you. Congratulations. Is Emma on?
Hi, this is Emma Sanderson.
Hi, Emma.
Emma.
I just
Congratulations.
want to say thank you.
Congratulations to you. Sorry that Zoom is so weird, but we really we're all glowing about your achievements and excited to hear more about you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Congratulations.
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 Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have two more workshops. First, we're going to hear from Anne Marie Corderoni about facility. First we're going to hear from Deb. From yes, happy to cede her place to you from transportation. Deb, do you pronounce your last name Call? Is it just yeah, Deb Call?
Okay, perfect, thank you. So, my name's Debbie Call. Been here a full year and a half now, still working strong. So our budget this year, several things, is, here's what we have now. We have available 29 buses, 28 vans, and 10 cars. And as we go on, you'll see here. Here's what we have as far as our staff. We're up to 23 bus monitors. We are working to put monitors on every vehicle, a driver and a monitor. I know we're not doing the masks anymore, but it was really needed and still is. So one of the things that I want to be able to start purchasing is a biometric clock service. So what it is, it's almost like a sign-in, but it's going to make, for Mary and ourselves, because we take probably 2, 3, 4 hours every day to write down and add up everybody's times. And we're doing it by calculators. This is a program where they can come in and sign in, the drivers and monitors, and they sign in, and everything will be right on there where they can even put in any time off that they want. Everything is all programmed right in and goes directly to Mary, and it's already all calculated. So it's gonna, even for her to take all our drivers and monitors and add everything up manually, we're gonna really reduce the risk of a lot of our data entry errors that we have going on. And also change the times that we're spending. We'll be able to do more things and get more work done than just sitting there and adding up these times. I think it'll be a great improvement for everybody all the way around. So a little bit about electric buses, because I know I was asked about this last year, so I've done a lot of research on them. As of right now, the governor is looking to make all buses electric by 2035. A lot of people are kind of fighting this because she wants everybody to go with electric buses, but she's not improving the grid. So there's going to be issues there. So more information should be coming available as we go on. And I know I have a NIAP meeting starting, and a lot of it has to do with electric buses and bringing them into our schools. So what we're looking for this year is to purchase, because we did skip 1 year of purchasing vehicles. So this year we're looking to get 3 72 passenger vehicles. And these are not electric, these are all Actually, they're all gonna be diesel buses, and 20-passenger, 3 20-passenger vans. And that's the total that we have right now. And that's not counting our trade-ins and what we would like to trade in. So here's our surplus that we have right now as far as buses. We'd like to trade these in. What happened was last year we did not trade any large vehicles in. We kept them for social distancing in our buses, or for the students. We kept them just in case. We kept them so that they were local and we had them. Well, we don't need them now. So we're ready to trade these 4 big buses in to reduce the cost of the buses that we'd like to purchase. Oh, we also have 3 vans that we can trade in or auction. We auctioned some off last year and we seem to get more money for the auction than we do trade in. So I'm not quite sure yet what John wants to do as far as trading or auctioning them off. But these are 2 that we'd also like to get rid of. So we have 10 cars here that we would like to auction, not trade in these, auction them off. Cars are right now in really need. People are buying used cars all over the place. And what we had figured talking to John the mechanic is that if we auction these 10 off, we could possibly get up to like $50,000 for these 10 vehicles. We don't have to, if we don't get what they're asking for the auction price, we don't have to let it go, and it's at no cost to us. Since they're not being used every day, they're running into issues with the mice getting into them, and only 1 child allowed into them, and we have no yellows and reds on them, so I feel really wise just to auction them off and get what we can for them.
You might have a buyer right there, it looks like.
Well, I already bought a Dodge Charger.
This is our budget from last year to this year. It's only gone up slightly. The garage budget, obviously fuel's gonna be probably going up further than that, the way it's looking. And that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions on? Oh, there was one thing I wanted to add. We are working with Dutchess County for the Bus Patrol Bus Stop Arm Enforcement Program. This is a free program to us. It's actually, they pay for it by people going through our reds. So Wappingers has started it, Arlington has started it, Pauling. All the schools are doing this. It's, like I said, free of charge, and they put cameras on the side of your buses. And as you're, if a vehicle goes through your reds, it knows it, takes its picture, and sends it to the police. It's like the whole program is a no-brainer. It's a great program. They also will put cameras in our buses, so anytime we need to look in our buses, we will be able to see live inside of all of our buses. And again, this is all free through the county.
So we'll do the contract through the board probably in the next meeting or 2.
Okay, great.
Do the police have access to the live videos inside the bus?
I don't know. I can find out. I don't know. Maybe if we call them, if there's an emergency or something. I really don't know that far in yet. It's something that I just started working with them with. So I'm actually going to go to Arlington and go inside and see completely how it all works.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a similar question. The privacy of the cameras. I mean, do we know like how that's locked down? The video inside the buses.
Being live?
Yeah.
I don't know. And
Okay.
no, I really don't. I have to check more into that part of it. I mean, we have cameras now that are recorded,
Yeah,
and I don't know,
but we only have access to them. So.
Correct.
Yeah.
yes. Good question, and I'll definitely find out.
Okay.
And with the governor looking to go make all buses electric by 2035, at what point, what year should we start looking to phase into that? So we have the expectancies, so.
Well, I'm going to a meeting March 24th about a lot of it, and I've been doing all kinds of research on the electric buses. to see what needs to be done and if they're even gonna go through with that, with the way things are changing as we speak. They're not cheap at all, and it's, a lot of it is going to be, I guess, piecing it all together and seeing where it goes from here.
So they haven't said if it's gonna be a phase-in and it has to be implemented by 2035, or that's when it has to start phasing in?
And they want to implement it all by 2035.
So we have to consider what the average life of a bus is that we
Correct.
have, and then we have to back plan for that piece.
Yes.
Deb also, we talked about there'll be some facility upgrades that have to be done as well. And NYSERDA does have a plan to help us out, but not enough to do that. So we're gonna, once I think once the governor's budget, if it's in the final budget, as we go forward, I think there'll be more information both on the transportation side and the business official side, so we can get some information going forward.
So another question would be, in terms of the financing and state aid, presently they are more costly than the diesels
Oh, yeah.
by a good margin.
Yes.
And that's not expected to change dramatically in the near term, but maybe by 2035, who knows? However, the question is, should we be doing some advocacy relative to the financing? Because this looks to me like an unfunded mandate coming up.
I have already started checking into it. I know of Burnt Hills tried to get some funding and was denied their funding. And I'm waiting for a call back from their transportation supervisor to see exactly what fell through and why it didn't happen.
Well, I think that this is something that our advocacy committee probably should start looking at to see if this is coming down the pike, no pun intended. We should be speaking out about it, because if there's going to be mandates that cause us to experience unexpected expenses, that doesn't have to be. I mean, the state can manipulate state aid in some way to make it neutral or closer to the proper dime, if you will.
Right, I agree. Yeah, because I have the specs for just one bus. One bus is more than our 3 that we're buying right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the meantime, there is the funding, reimbursement funding available through NYSERDA. I don't know if you've been able to look into any of that.
That's the one that fell through for Burnt Hills, so that's what I'm waiting to hear back from the transportation supervisor there, what happened with it, why they weren't able to receive it.
There are a few districts that have been successful with it, White Plains, I think, and I have the information I can send to you, because it might be interesting to talk to them as well about how they were successful with it.
Yeah, yes,
But
definitely.
but I have heard that they're increasing the reimbursement, so if we can figure out how to actually get it and not get denied it, there is money there. But I would, I mean, I think it's great what Governor Hochul's asking to happen. I think it's really important, but it actually seems unlikely to me that anyone would ask for such a gigantic, I mean, that's sort of like exponentially bigger than any other unfunded mandate that we have, so.
I would like them to see all government vehicles before they ask private or like the public schools to do it.
I mean, we all need to do it. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna prioritize one over the other. It just seems, yeah.
If it wasn't funded, I mean, more than half the state would fail to meet the deadline. So, yeah, I feel
I
like
think, yeah, like probably 99%
Yeah.
of it, because even the districts that are doing it, they're doing it through this NYSERDA program. It is a really expensive thing to do. And there's long-term savings, especially with gas increasing in cost now the way it is. But those upfront costs are impossible for school districts to
I think
absorb.
there's probably an assumption of federal legislation being passed to update government fleets and create bridge financing. That hasn't happened because there's supposed to be personal car subsidies rolled into that as well. So I think she's just putting a stake in the ground to get people thinking about it, because this is something that I have actually asked about every year that I've been on the board. And there's always a reason not to do it. And so I think that if, the science is that climate change is real and that greenhouse gas emissions are one of the primary causes of it, and that we want to have a planet left, then we all need to start thinking outside the box. So this is
Yeah.
just probably putting a stake in the ground. I don't think that it's, it's good that we've had more of a discussion about this, and I came in late, than we've had in all of the years I've been on the board, just because of this mandate.
Well, and you did, I think Miss Debbie said she has been researching it and sort of.
Yeah, I have
I'm
a
sure
whole-
you
I have a
have.
whole packet of
Yeah.
stuff here that I've been, pros and cons. And
Yeah, it's just, like, in the past, like, it would be like, oh, it doesn't make sense, it's too expensive, we don't know how to work on them, like, it's come up. And this feels like there's so much more momentum, probably your leadership, and then also by putting something out there that people have to start thinking about it more actively.
It's definitely going to be something of the future. Maybe not a whole fleet, I don't know, but it's definitely coming in the future.
I have a question just out of curiosity, and this might be more of an Anne Marie and Matt question, but for our current budget right now, how do we account for, or how do we manage this crazy rising in gas prices that's happening? And like, do we have contingencies in place for this? I heard the other day that it could be up to like $6 or $7 by the summer. So how do we like kind of account for that? Do we have kind of safeguards built in for that kind of event?
So the budget, as you saw the budget being flat, so some of the fuel prices have been where we have money extra in there because there have been years ago where we, actually had more. So there's a couple of different budget codes that we have.
Okay.
So we have the fuel budget code, but then I also have extra money in different budget codes that we roll into fund balance or use for something else.
I
But
see.
this definitely we have to keep an eye on, because, it grew so fast, so quickly.
Right.
that we have to just make sure that we have enough.
Thank you.
So 2035 is about, it's about 12, no, it's 5, about 13 years from now. So, and, right, I guess from your list, you're selling like a 2006, 2009.
Yeah.
2006, I mean, that's more than 13 years old. Can you speak about a little bit about, like, if we have to switch to electric buses by 2035, when do you think we should start buying them so that we're not stuck with the diesels by that date?
Well, there's still a lot of research that I feel that I even have to do. I've heard rumors that we won't even be able to park them in our garage if they have to have all those batteries in one garage like that to run electric buses. And how about a plug-in? How are we going to do that out of the garage? So there's still so much research to do, and people are really starting to get into it now, and I'm really learning a lot more now about it than ever.
So Anthony, we were also waiting to the actual budget pass, so we could get a little bit more information, because right now it's just in the governor's budget. So it may not look exactly like that, it might not be like the entire fleet by 2035, once they settle, it might be less. But once that happens, then the, organizations that Deb, belong to and that I belong to will have some more information, because I think all the school districts are in the same boat. The buses that we're putting up for proposition, though, we really do need now, because we have to make sure that we have safe vehicles to drive now and for children. But we will start thinking about it now, as it rolls forward, how we're gonna make this happen, if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing over whether we need to replace the ones that were up on the board to replace. I defer to your judgment on that. But what I guess, are we still keeping some flexibility that if that's the actual target, and that the programs are in place, that maybe perhaps we should start buying them now and not later, and then be stuck with a nice running diesel bus, but we can't use it, you know what I mean?
Right. I don't disagree with you, but I think next year this presentation will look very different once we know more, and trying to get that rolled out. I don't think we have enough information right now to start buying and start doing, but I think come next year, I think that will be the focus.
Okay.
Especially if we have to do that.
I just don't want
if once the governor's budget gets passed, then we'll know more for certain, so we don't have to wait a year for this presentation to plan for this. So it could be more of a specific agenda topic, in the coming months, maybe over the summer, Because you're all right, it's going to require an enormous amount of planning, long-range planning to pull it off. We just don't know all the details of what the governor, how much support, all that kind of stuff. So we need a little more time to work with that, but I wouldn't want to wait till next spring to have the conversation with you all. So I think it's something that we probably should do in the next few months,
Yeah.
at least start the conversation.
No, thank you. I just don't want to get stuck with the equipment and not be able to use it either,
Right.
so.
Well, it's great to know, Debbie, that you're actively researching it. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
I have another question. What kind of electrical supply do we have coming into the bus depot?
Not enough. Not enough for that at all.
So we should probably be looking at what kind of electrical engineering requirements there may be and what the feasibility of that is.
Yes, and I've already started some of that also. And I do have a little bit of it here. I've just been trying to find out as much as I can from every aspect of getting the electric buses in and getting it started. And
And you're talking about the garage, Craig, right? You're talking
The
about-
garage, yeah, the bus depot,
That's a facility question that we have to work with our architects on.
yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. That it's probably gonna have to be brought all the way in from 9D to come up in there to make, it's gonna be, there's gonna be a lot of changes to make it all go electric. Even, even to start with a couple, I think we're gonna need to upgrade our electric.
Right, well, you don't have any heavy electrical loads at that facility. You've got lights and fuel pumps and a few tools and stuff like that. It's not, it's probably not a very heavy-duty service.
No, but there are different charging stations, and I got from Leonard Bus how many variables there are with the charging stations, and there's so many different variables to get for a charging station. And I guess the best way to go is to see what we can work with and what's compatible for us. Because they gave us like gave me 3 or 4 different choices that you could use for once we start bringing in electric buses. It's still part of the planning. When I'm looking everything up, I'm not just looking at the buses, I'm looking at the whole picture.
I have a question about the bond versus the surplus vehicles. Are you trying to offset the cost of the bond by the anticipation of getting rid of these other vehicles? Or will that just go into your budget in a different way when you annex these vehicles?
When we surplus, it's a revenue source, so it does get recorded as revenue. That's really just, the accountant's way. But we are gonna do, if that proposition does, pass with the budget, we do finance it over 5 years to match the transportation aid. But we will have an additional revenue source, the following year, if she does those at auction.
Okay, so this particular proposition, though, is just, this really reflects the cost of these
That's
6
the cost,
vehicles?
Right. If it's a trade-in, then it would affect, because we don't actually go out and do a bond anticipation note until the fall, is when we get the vehicles. So if Deb is able to trade in some and bring the cost down, we would only borrow what we needed.
Okay.
But the auction price is more of a revenue source that has to come in that way.
And so the proposition that will be on the ballot is, it will say this number, but this is sort of like the maximum number that would be bonded.
Correct.
The auction option seems better, even though it may be a little bit more work. I mean,
It's really not much more work.
okay,
It's
yeah,
great.
okay.
Yeah.
And,
You guys use Cox or whatever across the river?
Absolute auctions.
Oh.
So we don't pay anything at all, which is wonderful. The buyer does.
yeah, 15%.
I have a question about the number of cars that we have. From your presentation, it sounds like you're concerned about using ordinary passenger vehicles. Are you talking about transition to marked school bus vehicles of a small nature, or could you explain that a bit more, please?
We can just use our yellow vans that we have now. We're not looking to go smaller on any of the vehicles as of yet. Maybe that'll be the way to go, is maybe start with small electrical vehicles, the smaller ones that have the yellow lights on them. I don't know With the cars, though, you know, you can only make sure that the kids are on the sidewalk side, and it's just so much more work to use a cart, and not safe at all.
There is a child passenger safety program for buses. I mean, I would think that not the main buses, but like the small, like cars, basically child car seat stuff, right? Are you actively using child car seats for the smaller kids on the cars, or?
When we use them, we very rarely use them.
Oh, is it because they don't need them? They're old enough, or is it because you don't have them?
What, the car seats?
Yeah.
We just don't use the cars.
Oh, you don't use the cars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when there is a child that's not yet 4 going to pre-K, we do have car seats, 4-point harness car seats on the vehicles for them.
Okay. And you have someone in-house that guides you through all that stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I had one more question. Just, it sounds like you're managing, even with the, national school bus driver shortage, to keep the buses going. And I know you've actually had to drive a few times to make that happen, so thank you for that. In terms of the bus monitors, is there a lack of applications coming in? Or are you just trying to build slowly that staff?
It's a lack of, the applications are coming in. They're not responding to interview requests.
Okay.
I just don't hear anything from them. I get the application and nothing. No one calls me back.
That's weird.
Okay.
So,
Are there-
yeah, I do support the biometrics option also. I think that'll save time, and it's, over a full year, it seems like it's worth the cost. Transcription errors can definitely lead to disgruntled employees. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, because we're actually doing it and we're answering phones and trying to add, and it gets,
Another question, different line of inquiry. How many facilities do we travel to?
I started doing that. So we do go through the co-op for some of ours. I think right now I have about 3 co-op through Dutchess County that take 3 of them, and we probably go to about 10, 12 different places all over.
Is that up or down?
Both.
Both? Meaning some new ones are in, some old ones are out?
We go to Monticello, is the furthest north we go. And probably south would probably be the School for the Deaf down in Westchester.
Does that number include the schools right here in Beacon?
No.
No.
No. There's 12 Beacon public school buses.
Are there any other questions for Debbie?
How are we doing on recruiting bus drivers?
I have 1 in training, and still taking in the applications, not getting any response back.
How many full-time bus drivers do we have? None now? Is there any potential for creating, structuring full-time jobs that might be more attractive? Would there be an economic case for that?
We have to negotiate that. We're in negotiations with CSEA right now.
Right?
I think the whole thing with the keeping bus drivers and getting bus drivers is the competition that needs to happen with all the other districts, because they're calling around. We have to stay competitive with them.
Is it true there's like a commercial private outfit, school buses like right up Noring D by the stadium?
Yes, they're helping out Wappingers.
Okay. So they're also taking our local drivers away too, right?
No, I have some of theirs.
Oh, you have some of theirs. Okay, well, that's good. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good night. Next, we have Anne Marie Corderoni speaking about our facilities and operations budget.
can just use the mouse, right? Okay, good evening. We are going to do an update on the facilities and operation budget. I have Nick Miller here in case you ask me any really hard questions that I don't know the answer to. So 2021 and 2022 in review, we wanted to talk mainly about the capital project vote, which was a successful vote in October of 2021. And the Facilities and Operations Committee of the board and the administration have been extremely busy moving this forward, so we're very excited about that. Our Project A and B of the $26 million project will happen in the summer of this year. And C and D, which is a little bit more involved, a lot more design, will be in the summer of 2023, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. We're also excited to say the Smart School project, Smart Bond project that we completed in the fall of 2021. So that we replaced all of the security cameras in the entire district. We upgraded door access, and now there's new lockdown procedures, which we are going to start rolling out pretty soon with the students and as we do the testing. So we will, put out some communication to the parents to let them know. We're very excited about that. Mark Thomas led that whole project up with Day Automation. So we're very excited about that. And we'll talk about how we're moving security forward with other things. So I like pictures because I don't know what things look like. So we did talk about last year that we needed floor cleaning machines and we need vacuums. So these are the type of equipment that we did purchase with our equipment line last year. We were also able to buy a skid steer, which is the white machine on the left of your screen. And it's been very handy already, besides snow removal with just other site work that we've had. The machine on the right is for snow plowing. And this was something that we weren't thinking about getting, but are ecstatic about getting, and we're going to try to get some more. So this saves just personnel costs. So this could be something that's on a sidewalk, and it just saves hours and hours of overtime of some of our staff. So it was beneficial. We were able to get this piece of equipment because we were not able to get a truck. We tried really hard to get a new vehicle, and we did talk about that in the budget last year. So now we are going to include it in next year's budget. We have to order it. I mean, just getting cars and trucks has just been really difficult. So we reallocated some of the equipment money and used it for that. And then I just put keys in the middle because it was the rekeying of the entire district, and that was something that we talked about last year in the budget. So the entire district was rekeyed. That's more of a security issue because we did have Grand Master keys all over. We didn't know where they were. So Mark Thomas, again, has been extremely great about controlling the keys and knowing where they are. Most employees have IDs like this that can get into buildings and based on their access. So it does give us more of a sense of security and securement about, our school buildings. So priorities for the 2023, so a little bit more about the capital project work. So in summer 2022, we're going to see boilers in 3 of our elementary schools. There will be roof work at the high school and the middle school. And we've struggled, with some of the roofs this year especially, so we're very excited about getting that done. There's going to be a major electrical upgrade at the middle school, which I kind of thought of, Craig, when you mentioned the electrical upgrade at the bus garage. So that's something that we can talk to our architects now just going forward to get some information. But that building does need a major upgrade. So there's like 2 to 3 weeks that we cannot use the middle school, and obviously that will be planned during the summer. The middle school, summer school program will be housed at the high school along with all the other elementary schools. There is paving and resurfacing that is happening over this summer as well. We are replacing some damaged playground equipment, so some of it just didn't quite make the winter. Some of it was a mistake when we were plowing. But anything that did get damaged over the winter, we are in the process of getting quotes from several playground equipment. We'll get that all installed in the summer. And we have talked about more in the Facilities and Operations Committee meetings about trees. So we're going to have a professional come in and help us with that. And again, equipment needs, we are, again, trying to just get another piece of equipment like that for snow plowing. And we're trying to also put in, besides the truck, a vacuum that hooks on the back of the truck and helps us with leaves and mulching and stuff like that. So we're hoping to do that as well for the ground staff. So our budget year to year is flat except for salaries. And we did have an increase in BOCES. So we are utilizing some BOCES services. Including in that is our part-time interim facilities of director, Perry Sheldon, who I think has met some of the board through the Facilities and Operations Committee, but we will bring him as we do some capital project updates to meet the full board. He's a retired facilities director from Dutchess County, and he's been a great help with us in the capital project, working with us and being the liaison, between the architect and the construction manager. He works daily with Nick as well, so he's been wonderful there. So those are the only differences going on the facilities end. And then the operations, it's the same. So right now you're just seeing an increase in instructional salaries. I did mention CSEA contract is out of contract. We are in full negotiations. We're hoping to settle by the end of the year, the latest. So we are increasing the salaries on those lines as well. Does anyone have any specific questions?
Oh, did you already get the skid steer, or it's in the
Skid
budget?
steer we have. We're not buying another, but it's been a wonderful addition. It came right before a snowstorm, so everybody was very excited.
They're very handy. They're fun to watch too. It's like a giant toy, but very
If you saw
much
the
a
group
tool.
of men around it when it came, yes, I observed that. It was great.
One of the ideas that occurred to me is if we're doing some tree removal, one way to save money on that is if it's feasible, instead of having the professional tree crew do the whole job, is that you clean up the mess that's left. And a skid steer is very handy for that because you can pick up enormous weight with it and then move it to someplace where you can dump it if we have a place where we could properly dump them.
Right.
So that's worth looking into.
Yes, we do, you're right, we do some tree cleanup, but this will definitely enhance that going forward. So, yes.
Are there any other questions?
Okay.
Okay, thank you so
you.
much, Anne Marie. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular individual, and the board will return in about 15 minutes?
So moved. Oh, second.
Second. Kristen and Flora, comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, Anthony's not here, so it passes 8-0. Thanks. Thanks for your patience. Reviewing the agenda, there are two changes. Item 11.05, non-instructional personnel, A3 and D3 have been removed. Are there any parent groups or school presentations? I don't see any here in the audience. I don't see any online. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, I just want to update the board on a couple of things that are on the agenda tonight and just do an update outside of that. One of the things on the consent agenda tonight is an agreement with the Center for Economic and Environmental Partnership for the district to receive a fellow. This fellow is going to be someone who works with us about kind of like half-time on sustainability efforts in the district. So one of the great things, or I'll start with this. This is grant funded that the center has located, so it's not costing the district anything. What this fellow is going to be doing with us starting pretty much this week is first conducting an inventory of sustainable practices that are taking place in the BCSD, finding different ways to survey stakeholders, reviewing external resources that would assist the district with developing more sustainable practices, and then generating a report for me and the board about next steps to the district. So the fellowship runs from March through the end of June. So I anticipate us, doing the report in a board meeting, probably in June or the summer. And so this is not only looking at sustainable practices, like in the facilities and transportation, which we discussed earlier tonight, but also ways of incorporating issues of sustainability into curriculum. So the person who's going to be the fellow has both experience working with communities and also experience with schools and teaching. So we're really excited to get that started, and they'll be joining us at a board meeting once this thing kicks off and they have some information to share. But it's still, even though it doesn't cost the district anything, it still has an agreement with it that's on the consent agenda, and we are very, very excited to get started on that. Another thing, this is just what we call a first read, is we have developed the draft calendar for next year. So it is something that contractually we do work with the Beacon Teachers Association in the development of the calendar, and we also, we also just try to sort of deal with the different calendar challenges that come up every year. So so we're excited this year because we're doing the 2 professional learning days before Labor Day weekend, and we'll have students coming back for the first day of school on the 6th, right after Labor Day weekend. I think that's a great way to start, and so that's just kind of a small thing in the calendar, but we have also time for professional development, and if you have any questions, you can ask me during the board comment part about the calendar. And then lastly, we last week was the beginning of optional masking in the district on Wednesday. It's been sort of a fitful month or two with the lawsuit that came out of Long Island a couple of months ago, and different things coming from either local or state governments about things, but we got clarity, and so it went into place. Optional masking went into place last Wednesday. I wasn't able to be in schools today, but I was in schools every day last week, and there still are a large number of students wearing masks. So at the high school and middle school, it's probably around 50%, maybe a little bit higher, of students wearing masks. Some students are kind of going with situational mask wearing. They wear them at different times of the day. And then some students feel good not wearing a mask. And so at the elementary level, I don't really have a firm percentage, but it is lower in terms of mask wearing. I think it kind of makes sense if you think about elementary students, especially the younger ones, struggling with this over the last couple of years. So I would guess about probably 20% of elementary students, 20 to 25% are wearing masks. So, during this time, we continue to monitor cases. We continue to, it's not really called contact tracing anymore, but if we have a case, we do notify close contacts and going through all the things that we do. We're trying right now over the next week or two to decide the future of the Test to Stay program. So we'll be updating the community once we kind of figure out what we want to do with that. We keep sending home test kits, and we'll see if we have one last vaccine clinic in us for this spring before the end of the school year. So it's I was asked by someone if I felt apprehensive about the change. Being someone who, for lack of a better word, has been sort of obsessed with the data, both countywide and also, our own district data on this for the last 2 years, I have not been apprehensive about this change. But who knows what the future may bring with this, whether it's long-term or short-term. But, our staff and our students have really done an outstanding job, and our families, hanging in there through lots of difficult times over the last 2 years. So I was, I don't know the right word. I'll just go with happy to see the cases got low enough for them to offer this change. I know it meant a lot to some people, and I also know that a lot of people are apprehensive about the changes. So we'll continue to monitor things very closely, continue to communicate with the community, and work continue to work through this. So one of the reasons I know about the situational masking is during the midst of all this, I had a number of student focus groups last week, and I have a number of them this week. So in a student focus group, I meet with about 10 to 12 students per grade level, and I also do it with 4th and 5th graders at the elementary level. So 4th and 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then all the grades at the high school. And so high school students and middle school students kind of they didn't use the phrase situational masking, but that's what they kind of described, that they're going to continue, many of them continue to wear masks when they kind of feel like they need to. And I think that makes perfect sense. So we also want to just sort of tip my cap to administrators and teachers and social workers and guidance counselors. Also did a lot of either individual work or sort of larger scale work, just kind of getting students prepared. This came quicker than we thought. I always kind of thought the optional masking was going to happen more in like the middle of March. That was just always my guess. It came a little bit earlier than I thought. So, so there's a little bit less time, but like at the middle school, Mr. Soltish met with every single social studies class. So we met with every single student on Tuesday before the optional masking went into place, just to talk about what it would look like at Roundabout and really support students in still wearing masks if they wanted to. So it seems to be going well so far, and we will, continue to monitor it closely. And then lastly, we're excited about the next board meeting. At the next board meeting, we're going to get roll up our sleeves and talk about the instructional side of the budget. And we're kind of trying to put the finishing touches on it now, and also, including things like professional development. And we're also going to get into the data a little bit that we've been gleaning from our iReady implementation. So we're excited to share that as well at the next meeting. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, committee reports and board comments. Anthony?
Sure. Nothing to report on the diversity front. On the I guess the landscape front, I don't know what to call it, but Dutchess County has ended again their public vaccine program with the pods. The last Saturday was their last JCPenney opening for vaccines. It seems like with all the more options there, the demand has waned again. So, however, they are going to use the space for something else. They're going to switch the space over to the Ukrainian relief collection. I put on the screen the items that they're going to collect next Saturday on the 12th and the 19th, and also from 9 to 1, and then March 18th from 1 to 5. They are looking for specific items. They're not looking because those are the items they can ship and stuff like that. So I just wanted to put that up on the screen instead of reading a whole list.
Did you email that to us as well?
I can email it out, yes.
Wish they were taking clothing.
That's cool.
And
it's Dutchess County organized?
Dutchess County, yeah, through the
What? Yeah, does,
AFIA Foundation,
what is that?
yeah.
Is it an acronym? What is AFIA?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just know that I just know enough to be dangerous. So, but they're not gonna be open for vaccines on that Saturday, but they're going to be open for this. They're gonna use the same volunteers they've been using and try to collect the stuff and sort them out, box them, put them on crates, wrap the crates, and then have them shipped. So
It's specifically an organization that connects medical supplies with those who need them. So that's
Okay.
exactly what, that's what, it doesn't say what the acronym is, but that's what the foundation's mission statement is.
cool. Thanks for looking that up. Yeah, I didn't look them up. I just kind of assumed
It
it.
means good health in Swahili.
Okay.
Oh, Google.
And so that's pretty much all it for my report.
Thank you. John?
I really just wanted to take the time out to send my condolences out to the McNair family through this tough time. I got some unfortunate news over the weekend that Yvonne McNair passed away, and she's greatly impacted this community and the school district through her time here. She's treated every single person I've known and seen her know as their own, and I really just wanted to send out my condolences to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, that's a big loss.
Yeah. She was an amazing person. Jasmine?
The same as John, with Yvonne McNair, Mrs. McNair, she was the first person who took me out and wanted to give me as much information as possible when it came to joining this board. And she's the first woman who really took me by the hands. And I'll miss her. She texts me whatever I needed. She was just there for me, and she did that for a lot of the kids in the community, especially around my year graduating. She absolutely deserves to be acknowledged. She'll be greatly missed.
Thank you. I can forward the board her obituary. There's a visitation on Friday.
Thank you.
Alyssa?
I'm sorry to hear that news. I didn't know that, and that's someone who was really good for Beacon, so I'm sorry to hear that. The next meeting of the policy committee will be March 14th. And I think we had submitted some policies to the Audit and Finance Committee. And I just,
They're on the agenda for tonight, yeah.
did you guys all have a chance to take a look at those?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony?
The curriculum committee has not met since the last board meeting. We're due to meet March 29th here in LGI. I also have some comments. I wanted to share some really positive news. I was on the New York State School Report Cards, browsing for my district, and I decided to look up Beacon. And Beacon High School, so this isn't district. The district numbers are a little bit lower, but I thought we could celebrate some student achievement. So for the 2021 school year, Beacon High School had a 93% graduation rate. Females were 95, males were 91. General ed students were 96, students with disabilities 78, Black or African Americans 91, Hispanics 87, whites 98, economically disadvantaged 88, non-economically disadvantaged 97. So that is really good news. I thought that should be shared. I thought it should be say something publicly. I feel we don't talk about student achievement enough. So when I was browsing this, I thought it was really good, and that's only the 4-year. I know the district numbers for all students was 91%, and I know the students with disabilities, because I was looking up, that was 68%. So that takes into consideration students that go to out-of-district programs as well. So that is something to be celebrated. I think that's the highest it's been, I want to say, since my time on the board. I know it was always around 80%, and it's been steadily going up, but I think that was the biggest jump that we had. I think it was like a 4-point jump from 2019-20 to 2021. So that's huge. Goes to the administration here at the district, the teachers, and the students. Some people may say it's not due to the fact that they haven't had regencies. I would say that's hogwash. So they have authentic audiences, and they have some really good summative assessments that go on. So I thought that's something that should be celebrated and said publicly. So kudos to the district.
Thank you. Kristen?
Our next facilities meeting will be on March 31st, and that isn't the one that we changed, is it? Is that the one we moved? Okay. We moved it because Anne Marie's son is getting married.
That's the next one.
Okay. Then the next one. So some good news for Anne Marie. And congratulate you. We will as it gets closer to. Yes, the mask change has been interesting because I thought my kids would immediately embrace it, and they still have gone out the door with like their masks on their wrists and have kind of been sort of halfway in, halfway out about it. I think I think overall it's like, you know, something that everyone was looking forward to, but now that it's not there, they've had this habit that they're trying to change. I'm also very sorry to hear about Yvonne McNair. That is a huge loss for Beacon, and hopefully we can carry her work forward and accomplish the things that she really wanted to see here. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Craig?
The only thing to comment on is that I believe the business department continues to review the proposals from companies that would seek to be our next internal auditors, and we'll be hearing the report when it's ready, references being checked, et cetera. And our next meeting is the same as the facilities and operations, just at 6 o'clock on the 31st. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Flora?
So updates related to the Public Relations Advocacy and Legislative Committee. We did take the document that we had put together advocating for mental health support for students, community-based support. We took that to Sue Serino. We had a conversation with her, and we had a conversation with Assemblyman Jacobson, sorry. They were both very receptive to it. Jacobson recommended that we share the information with State Education Committee Chair, Senator Shelley Mayer. So we're going to do that, and they also received a copy of the document. So the idea is, you know, our ideas are in their head. They're thinking about them. They're talking about them. So that's half the battle right there. We're also having a meeting, right, with Dutchess County Legislative Minority Leader Valdez Smith and the Assistant Minority Leader Adkins to talk about it. I don't know.
Actually, they asked us to share it at one of their meetings, so it was publicly on the record. So it wouldn't be a private meeting, it would be.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Is that okay with the rest of the board? I assume that it would be okay, but.
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, that's great news. And then I also shared it with the Dutchess County School Board Association members. They were really interested in having the information so that they could start having the same kinds of conversations with legislators. And we basically talked about the importance of having as many voices as possible, sort of talking about the same ideas and the impact that that can have. I also had noticed that a high school PTO in Wappingers, they share advocacy info on social media. And I think that that's a really great way to sort of get the parents involved and to make those, make the advocacy efforts known, but also make the information known about, you know, what's going on, what's at stake, what's in the budget. And so we decided that the PRAL committee is going to start sharing anytime it does a statement or advocacy efforts. It's going to share that with all of the PTAs and PTOs in the district, along with a link to the advocacy portion of the BCSD website. So there's a section on the website about advocacy, what the issues are, who, you know, how you can put together a form letter, and you know, all the places you can reach out to. So we're going to share that information with them, and then they can then in turn share it with our school community and make parents aware of what we're talking about. And I think this issue is a good example of, you know, when you're talking about mental health support for students, like this is something that everybody talking about, you know, the same things is a very powerful thing. So that was the bulk of the meeting. Our next meeting is Monday, March 21st at 6 p.m. And then the Dutchess County School Board Association meeting, we had John Daly there to talk about the executive budget. And I mean, it was interesting, and I'll send you the slideshow, but, you know, they, like everyone, are just sort of waiting to see what actually happens in the vote before making any decisions. But it was some of the elements of it were interesting. Like they had brought up how the executive budget proposes taking state ethics rules down to the local level so that would impact school boards. It would impact school board members and district employees, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Duchess Bosse's also gave an update, and they said that its construction project, which is the one over at Salt Point Road, which is going to combine Salt Point Center, the Alternative High School, and the Career and Technical Institute onto one campus, that it's on track, and there will be invitations for a walkthrough of the project soon, so I'll let you know when I hear about that. And that is it for now.
Thank you. I just have a few things also. First, on the consent agenda, 1110 is a resolution having to do with the sale of the stadium. This is the water and sewer access easements that we need to approve as a condition of the sale, that the Town of Fishkill Planning Board approved their part with the condition of us approving this part. So I think this is the last step before the sale goes through all the way, but you never know. I think we're close, though. The other thing is I was doing my board evaluation, and at the very end of it, it asks if we regularly renew our code of ethics. And I brought this up last year. We didn't really go anywhere with it, but I'm bringing it up again because I do think it's really important. I would like to add it either to the reorg meeting or when we renew our board goals, that we do affirm a code of ethics for a board. I know that there was one board member that felt that we, in our oath in becoming a board member, that was enough. But just reading the board evaluation, I think it's actually commonly believed that all boards should also have a code of ethics. So I will recirculate a code of ethics that I passed around, or they sent out last year, and people can take a look at it, and we can put it on either for reorg or for when we do our board goals. We can decide about that. And that's also just a last reminder to please do your board evaluation if you can find the time. We try to organize our retreat around that a little bit, so it is really helpful information to have. And it doesn't take that long.
Meredith?
Yes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd put it on the reorg meeting because there's not much time to discuss it, but maybe sooner? I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't discuss it.
Well, I think since we will be having a new board member after the election, I was thinking it should be after the reorg, so maybe we'll just do it with the board goals. You're right, it makes more sense to do it where we have
Yeah.
time to discuss.
Okay, because I mean, honestly, I don't remember it, and I know we have a policy, 2160. I'm trying to figure out what's the difference between the two, and, I would like to memorialize it too, I mean. So.
Yeah. Well, we have the policy, but I think that the policy is more a district code of ethics, and this is specifically to board members.
Okay.
I'll send it out
yeah,
again.
just for discussion,
I'll find it
yeah.
and send it out, yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. My 10th grader is going on his 8th grade DC trip on Wednesday in this strange groundhog world we're living in coming out of the pandemic, which I'm really excited for him about. And it'll be very interesting for the teachers to take 10th graders instead of 8th graders on that trip. I wish them all well. The only other thing, and I just sent everyone the mental health letter that Flora put together for Jonathan Jacobson, so you have the information that we're sharing around. And then the last thing is we need to have a special meeting to approve the budget, and I'm wondering if everyone is available for April 21st, or at least a quorum of people. You guys mind checking your calendars? Or if you want me to email that out, we don't need to deal with this right now, but.
I have committee meetings on my calendar for that night. Would they?
We do, yeah. So we were going to switch it and do a special meeting instead. So I guess the people that are on that committee are definitely available, or supposedly anyway.
April 23rd?
21st.
Oh, 21st, I'm sorry, I misheard.
Thursday, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have that penciled in.
for facilities and audit.
No,
Well, 21st,
did we have it facilities?
that's Thursday, right?
It is a Thursday. Yeah.
So,
It's
Like I'm
usually when we
available.
have facilities and audit. I mean, it wouldn't be a long meeting, so
Yeah, April
actually-
21st is when yep.
we can actually tack it on, I think, to those. So those that are not on
we have a
facility.
triple header then, right? 2 committee meetings and a board meeting?
Well, we're
Right, but
just
it's
approving the budget.
Approving the budget. It's,
Yeah.
it's not usually a
Quickie.
long meeting. Yeah. So, you're okay? Yeah, okay. Okay, great. So please put that in your calendars that we will have a special meeting on April 21st.
7
So if,
PM?
Actually, it'll probably be at 8 then,
it should,
after the committee meetings.
I'm just starting at 7 and
Yeah,
since I'm here.
Right.
right. But for those that aren't in part of the committees, it would, the special meeting would begin at 8 PM.
Okay.
8 o'clock, all right.
And, I mean,
You can always come to facilities. And
So we're going to have both facilities and audit and finance on that same day. the
yeah, so
20th.
we'll
have
do
to
them in
start.
person. We can invite,
will Bill come in person?
yeah, if not, we can put them on
Zoom him
screen.
in? Okay.
Okay, great, thank you very much. And that's all for me. Okay, we have a couple of new business items tonight. 10.01, discuss the proposed capital reserve. This is something that Anthony White has talked a lot about. I also think it's a really good idea. We need to decide the amount, we need to finalize. I mean, we've already discussed it, but we need to finalize the amount that we'll put on the ballot because it's a fund that we can put money into over several years, but we need to decide, we need to make that, we need to get voter approval to have the reserve, and we need to figure out what the cap of the amount of money would be. So we had thrown out 10 million.
10 to 15, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't,
You don't have to fill it.
right, exactly.
I would say 15 million, just
Right.
because our tax levy is going to stay pretty level after this capital project, where if we have some improvements or that we need to do, we could probably self-fund it, so I would say 15.
And it's 10 years is the,
You have to use it in 10 years. Yes, you also have to decide the maximum amount, so basically it's divisible by 10. So if you did 10 million, it would be up to $1,000.
100 then, I mean, a million.
How often do we have to go back for voter approval?
Well, the issue with
No.
the capital reserve is once you put money in and take it out, then you can't refund it. Again, you can't put more money into it. So our last capital reserve was $2 million.
Yeah.
So we put $1 million in, we took it out for one capital project, then we put another $1 million in and used it for the second.
Oh. So if 15 is approved, it would just keep going until the 15's used up?
Right, but it can only last for 10 years at a max.
So
there-
you need to vote to create the capital reserve.
Yeah.
You don't need to vote to put money in the capital reserve. They could put unappropriated fund balance in at the end of each year, depending on how much that is. But if we do a capital project and want to take out, the voters have to vote on it.
Part of the rationale is that with this capital project, we're unable to go back out for 10 years?
We could go out, but we would have to increase the tax levy.
Right.
So if we could have a capital project that we could fund ourselves by creating a capital reserve, such as the capital project we did last year or 2 years ago was like an $8 million capital project. If we had a capital reserve, we could have self-funded that and we wouldn't have had to go to bond it. So looking at the tax levy is going to be steady, or we're at that tax levy for years, I think, to 2030. I want to say 2031. Now, if the voters approve it at this May meeting, then we could start putting in at the end of the year. And as much as we could put in, then we could look to say, hey, a boiler goes. We could pay for that ourselves through a capital project. We'd have to get the voters' permission to do the capital project, but we would have the funds to pay for it ourselves instead of bonding it.
Well, the boiler goes, wasn't that like an emergency thing, though? I mean, we would have to,
Still need approval mean, there's still paperwork that we would need to do, but it's more about the funding part than it is.
Yeah.
It wouldn't come out.
That
of
was
our-
just an example.
Yeah.
Don't take the
Right.
boiler. It was
I mean, you
just
could
an
think about
example
the
of.
electric bus issue that
Yeah.
we face, you know, that's something that's gonna take
Well,
some
can
major
transportation
capital.
come out of a capital reserve?
We would be doing renovation work
To the facilities, yeah.
So the other part is right, so there's aidable projects, right? So if you do a capital reserve, I don't think, like, district office, we haven't done anything to because it's not aidable,
Right.
right? So like, if we're not bonding it, it might be a little bit easier to say, hey, let's do our ADA upgrades at district office because we're paying for it. We save this money over time to do those ADA upgrades.
Right, and there is, I mean, there are things in the district office on the list, the building and conditions list,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we just keep putting off
Kicking the
because
can
it's
down the
not
road.
aidable.
Are there any potential drawbacks to making it 15 versus 10?
Can you get stranded money in a case like this where you have to spend it or you're stuck with it there?
You would have to spend it, you would have to spend it within the 10 years. I don't imagine that we'd ever get to a point where we wouldn't have, there wouldn't be.
There's always a reason,
We
yeah.
could always think of something too, but yeah.
Well, I
yeah,
think you could
it's-
say spend it. I think the issue is we don't know what funding is gonna be like after 2 years, right? We got a big influx of federal funds for the next 2 years, right? So if we don't know what funding's going to look like, Anne Marie saying she can't commit to say, okay, let's put 1.5 or $2 million or $1 million in each year. But why, I always say, why limit at 10? If you could go up to 15, that doesn't mean you have to go. I think that we could have it up to 15 and a goal be get it to 10, you know? So then we could do a $9 million capital project in 5 to 6 years.
Right, so you set a 15 million limit and you fund it up to that limit, but you don't necessarily have to go to the limit. Is that the
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
So that, in that way, it doesn't necessarily make sense to cap it at 10 if we
I agree.
can.
Yeah.
15 would be more like it, I think.
Flora, I think the issue that I see is it's not a big issue. It's just making sure the community's educated about it, like that they understand.
Why we're saying that.
Right, because they do have to vote on the formation of it.
And it's
So it'll be on the ballot. So we just need to make sure people don't think it's,
We're saying
Right, because it's gonna
we're
say
spend
15 million, we
Right.
just approved a
The-
capital
The
project.
big piece is showing them the data that we just did this capital project and the tax levy, to do no increase to the tax levy, we have to have a means to
Due to
pay
this.
for future improvements, renovations, maintenance, because we're at that tax levy until 2030.
It'll be the
Which is-
communications that, it just will be how we communicate.
Right,
I-
that this
I-
doesn't
say
mean
visually
more money
present
that
what
you
it
have to
is.
pay taxes.
I think it
No.
should be
That's what
clear
we
that
Right.
we talk about this being tax neutral relative to the levy. That doesn't mean the levy is going to stand still. There's other factors in there, as we know. So we have to be careful how we phrase that this is neutral in terms of not making an impact on the tax levy. Right.
Does the 10-year thing you talk about that has to be spent, is that based on when the money hits the reserve, or is that based on when the reserve is set up?
That's a really good question. I don't know. It would be a timing thing. I could check with Dan Pettigrew because it is all the law. So once you give me, the idea of how much you want to do, then I will have a resolution that we need to
Okay,
go to the public. But I can get you that information.
okay, because
And
I
I
mean,
know that
'cause it,
there-
It won't be before June 30th anyway, because it would be unappropriated fund balance. It would be at the end of this year.
and
It would be the first time we put money in there.
so my other legal question is like, let's say, for example, you go out to bids, let's say year 6, right? You go out to bids, you seem like you have a good proposal for it to go out, and let's say for some reason, the price of materials went down a lot, and you have all this money still laying around, it's already year 9.5, right? Does that mean something bad happens at year 10 because we didn't spend it all?
It's a process to get the money back into the general fund, so it would be more of a vote kind of thing. But to be
Okay.
honest with you, Anthony, after looking at the building condition survey, I mean, we have a huge.
Yeah, no, I don't,
And the state always has an opportunity for variances as well, where you can
Okay.
extend it.
okay,
They do have a variance piece where you can extend it, I believe, as well.
okay.
So like if you're anticipating that you're doing a project, but it's gonna go past that, you don't have to have the money out of the bank by July 1st of
Well, I mean, yeah, spent by,
32.
yeah.
When you put out the vote to actually vote on the capital project, you know, you have to state how you're paying for it. So it's a bond or a ban for the short term and for the capital reserve. So once that goes out to vote, then you're committing that money to the project. So we go further.
But committing and spending are two different things, so that's why I'm asking.
Not in
You get
education.
stuck. Yeah, you don't want to get stuck because, yeah,
I can check with Dan just to make sure.
okay.
So does everyone feel good about the 15 million? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anne Marie. So the second item is something that Anthony Tsang requested that we put on for discussion, which is, and it's come up before because our meetings are the same night as the city council meeting, as to whether or not we could change the date of our meeting, the day of the week that we meet. How does everyone feel? I can say Monday is still the best night for me. That I wish it weren't so, but I travel a lot. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, 5 in the morning, during the week. So
Likewise.
It's still,
I am very sympathetic to the idea of changing it. Yeah.
you can really do a lot of laundry folding when you watch the city council meetings on record. We've talked about, this has come up several times, and I do take the point about, you know, if people feel torn, if they want to attend both. I mean, we are all to opposite whether they do a workshop or allow public comment, but, so there's more opportunities to go to city council often. But as has been with the past, Monday night still works best for me as well.
Yeah, my feeling was to just check in on that topic
Yeah, yeah.
because,
Yeah, no, I
because
think
my work schedule has changed and I no longer am restricted to just being free Monday nights. So if anything, my Monday nights is gonna be pretty busy because I have to rush over here from Manhattan just to get here, but that's fine. I signed up for that. But I no longer have that restriction where, you know, I think some of us had that restriction, that Monday nights was the only night they were available. So I
Right.
no longer have that. That's,
Yeah, for me, it's travel, and then also my kids tend to not have activities on Monday nights, so that's easier for me.
okay. All right, I just thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you bringing it up. I think it's good to check in on these things every once in a while.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda. Shoot, I don't know if I have the language up. Hang on a second. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Are there any items that any board members would like to have removed from the consent agenda?
Yes. 1103 and 1104.
Any others?
11:11.
Any others? Okay, can I have a motion to approve 11.01 through 11.13, less 11.03, .04, and .11?
Anthony, so moved.
Anthony, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Melissa. Comments or questions? With thanks for the donation.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 9-0.
I make a motion to approve 1103 and 1104.
Second?
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
I'm in favor, passes 8-1. Motion to approve 1111.
So moved?
Second.
Kristen, Anthony, comments or questions? I'm excited about this. That's my comment. All in favor?
No discussion.
She's recusing herself.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I was just gonna,
Yeah.
I haven't done that before,
So you
I
just
need to-
don't vote. You can just say I abstain. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? and 1 abstention, so passes 8-0. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
So move.
Second.
Anthony, Craig, Anthony, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 9-0. Thanks. Have a great night.